Today we ask one question. What did Michael Jackson know that made Hollywood nervous? Two unlikely messengers point to the answer. Jim Carrey and Dave Chappelle both say the quiet part out loud. The real power here isn't talent, it's story control. And few shape stories like Oprah. On screen, she chooses who gets grace and who gets grilled. Off screen, her voice can steer a whole news cycle.
I believe that they gave me a raw deal because this industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it eats, and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster.
Michael didn't play along. He kept his circle tight, kept notes, and pushed back when the story felt twisted. That made him a wild card. If he spoke, big names could look bad. If he shared receipts, careers could melt. So the safer move was simple. Paint him as odd, question his mind, and drown out the hard questions.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Carrey called the room spineless. Chappelle walked away from a giant check rather than bow to pressure. Their warning is clear. When a star won't follow the script, the machine rewrites the script around them. So why would Oprah fear Michael? Because he knew the players, the rooms, and the rules, and he wouldn't stay silent. But that wasn't the whole story. Dave Chappelle's story is one of the clearest signs of how the entertainment machine works. At the height of his success, when his show was pulling record numbers and he was about to pocket $50 million, he walked away. The headline said he lost his mind, that he couldn't handle the pressure. Some even pushed rumors of drug use, but Dave himself later explained the truth. It wasn't about losing his mind, it was about keeping his soul.
You're not supposed to do this in my business. I'm up here doing something that nobody else in this business has the balls to do. I'm telling you something that you need to know. I'm trying to explain to you what you're seeing. You don't understand what you're seeing. I am publicly flogging a network. And I know that this network nigga, they watching me and they saying, why are you doing this so publicly? Doesn't feel good to be flogged publicly. Oh, believe me, I know exactly how that feels. When I quit my show, they said I was crazy. What was crazy about it? I just didn't want to do it anymore. They said I smoked crack. That's impossible. I was a devout Muslim. I didn't smoke or drink. But I do now because you ruined my life.
When you listen to him speak, he doesn't sound unstable. He sounds clear, even angry, about what he saw. He said the industry wanted more than jokes. It wanted his control. The pressure was constant. Writers, producers, and executives pushed him to act in ways that felt wrong. One of the most famous examples was when he was told to wear a dress in a comedy scene. He refused. Others told him it would be funny, that all the greats had done it before. But Dave stood his ground. He didn't need a costume to prove he was funny. He knew the scene wasn't about laughs. It was about testing how far he would bend. When Dave walked away, the media quickly branded him as crazy. That's the oldest trick in the book. When someone refuses to play along, you don't debate their points, you attack their mind. He fled to Africa for a break, but the spin was that he ran away from reality. In truth, he was escaping the same system that would later suffocate Michael Jackson. Think about it. Dave was at the top, money in hand, fame worldwide, yet he still said no. That made him dangerous. A star with nothing to lose, and the courage to walk away can't be controlled. His retreat was painted as weakness, but in fact, it was strength. He stepped out of the spotlight before the machine could twist him any further. And this is why people called Dave the canary in the coal mine. His fall was a warning. He proved that the same system that pushed him to the edge was the very one Michael had been fighting all his life, but Dave had an exit door. Michael didn't. What happened next shows just how deep this pattern runs. When Dave Chappelle left for Africa, the headlines mocked him. They called it a breakdown, a retreat into paranoia. But when you look closer, it was something very different. It was self-defense. Dave needed space away from the contracts, the whispers, and the pressure. He wanted to breathe without cameras and think without executives shaping his every word. To the public, that looked strange. To those who understood, it was the only way to survive. Now compare that to Michael Jackson. His sanctuary wasn't across an ocean. It was Neverland, a fortress built in plain sight. To the world, Neverland looked like an eccentric playground. But to Michael, it was a shield. He filled it with joy, art, and music to drown out the noise of Hollywood. Yet every time he retreated there, the press called him weird, unstable, or out of touch. The story was always twisted. What Dave and Michael shared was simple. Isolation was their last tool for peace. But here's the difference. Dave could disappear disappear when the pressure got too heavy. He could vanish overseas and reappear when ready. Michael couldn't. His fame was too global, his life too watched. Neverland wasn't an escape in the same way Africa was for Dave. It was both a safe space and a cage. Cameras followed him everywhere. Critics turned his privacy into guilt. His silence became proof of rumors. Both men understood something the public didn't. When the system wants control, the only path to clarity is stepping away. But while Dave came back stronger, Michael faced a world that never let him rest. His sanctuary became part of the story they used against him. And that's where the real danger appears. Because when someone refuses to play by Hollywood's script, the machine doesn't just label them eccentric, it prepares to destroy them. But that wasn't the end of the pattern. What came next revealed the hidden rules of the entire industry. Hollywood likes to sell itself as a dream factory, but behind the bright lights there's a darker rule everyone learns. Betrayal is part of the job. Mel Gibson once described it in plain words.
Ethos, or somebody once said my problem was I didn't understand the social contract here. I now understand what that means.
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
The social contract?
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah. What is it for you?
The social contract. You can't get mad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for.
Mm.
And it may happen that by circumstance, or even very purposefully, that you over. But that shouldn't get in the way of you being able to sit down and have fun with them. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely.
You can't build a resentment about it. You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they're thinking.
Because it ain't personal.
No, it's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
No.
Not really. I don't quite understand. Well, I mean, there's a lot of motivations for why it happens. Yes, many.
I mean, money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? I mean,
Yes.
one, them, us,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, well, whoever.
If there's many millions riding on a decision, it's hard to be philosophical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very hard. Very hard to be, you you have to choose what level of integrity you're coming in at. And
Okay.
and I've often felt it. I've sat there and I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart. And I've actually felt the whole thing and I've gone, ah! Wait till next week, or I'll think you fucking and you'll resent it for a little while, then you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive.
He called it the social contract. What he meant was simple: you're expected to accept being stabbed in the back. Deals fall apart, friends turn into rivals, favors get twisted, and when it happens, you're told not to get angry. You're supposed to smile, shake hands, and act like nothing happened. This unspoken contract is how the system keeps stars in line. If you complain, you're marked as difficult. If you push back, you're labeled unstable. So most actors and musicians swallow the pain, pretend it's not personal, and keep the game going. It's survival by silence. But Michael Jackson never fit into that mold. He didn't accept betrayal as normal, he documented it. He kept records, asked questions, and refused to laugh off the knives in his back. That made him dangerous in a world built on silence. Because when everyone else plays along, the one person who won't can bring the whole house of cards down. Think about the pattern. Dave Chappelle said no and was branded as crazy. Martin Lawrence shouted, "They're trying to get me," and people laughed it off as madness. Mariah Carey hit a breaking point after a massive deal, and the headlines called her unstable.
Feel about him as a person, as an artist.
Martin Lawrence is the guy that showed everybody you can make it from DC to Hollywood. And I had a personal stake in his success. Every time he did something, it made me feel inspired and really good. And he was always real nice to me. He'd sit me down, "What's going on with you, baby boy? What? We'd talk about comedy, whatever." And when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, "Oh my God, Martin, are you okay?" And he said, "I got the best sleep I ever got in my life." That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, "They are trying to kill me"?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's These people are not crazy, they're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Over and over, the same script plays out. The industry labels resistance as insanity, while betrayal gets normalized. This is the true currency of Hollywood: loyalty traded for silence, silence traded for power, and when someone like Michael refuses that exchange, he threatens the very contract that keeps the machine running. But that wasn't the only weapon the industry used. Once the betrayal is accepted, the next step is even more calculated: controlling the story itself. And nobody mastered that art more than Oprah.
I'm glad you're here. Everybody wants to know, why'd you walk away from $50 million?
I wasn't walking away from the money. I was walking away from the circumstances with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14. I've heard the stories, seen these kinds of things play out in front of me. I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah.
It's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I felt like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress because, when you're a guy that generates money,
Yeah.
people have a vested interest in controlling.
The machine doesn't just betray you, it rewrites who you are. This is the playbook, and Oprah's interviews show it step by step. When Dave Chappelle sat across from her, trying to explain why he walked away from millions, she didn't let his truth land. Instead, she steered the talk towards stress, pressure, and mental breakdown. She framed his choice as instability, not integrity. That's how narrative control works. The public walks away thinking Dave lost his grip, instead of seeing the system that cornered him. The same script was used on Michael Jackson. For years, every time he spoke about control, ownership, or unfair treatment, the focus shifted. The conversation became about his face, his behavior, his lifestyle: eccentric, strange, unstable. These labels drowned out his warnings about the darker side of the industry. The playbook is clear. When you can't silence someone directly, you bury their truth under a story that makes them look unreliable. Oprah herself played a major role in this pattern. After Michael's death, she distanced herself, saying they weren't really friends. But years earlier, she visited Neverland, interviewed him, and shared compassion for his struggles. When accusations resurfaced, she gave the stage to his critics in After Neverland, timing it so he could not answer back. It wasn't balance, it was narrative framing. And notice the difference. Harvey Weinstein's victims? Oprah stayed quiet until the fall was unavoidable. Michael's accusers? She was ready to amplify their voices at the very moment his influence could still change public opinion. That's not journalism, that's control. This is how the system defends itself. Step 1, question the mind. Step 2, rewrite the motive. Step 3, redirect attention. By the end, the truth is buried, and the target is left without a voice. But the silence doesn't always come from interviews. Sometimes it's baked into institutions themselves. And that's where the story takes an even darker turn. Oprah's influence didn't stop with interviews. She built institutions too, the most famous being her Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. On paper, it was a dream project, a $40 million school promising opportunity for young women. She handpicked students, hired staff, and told the world it was about creating future leaders. But behind the polished image, scandals soon followed. Within the first year, a dorm matron was accused of mistreating students. Reports said girls as young as 13 were harmed. The employee faced charges, but the damage was done. Families had trusted the school, and now questions were rising about how much Oprah knew and how closely the academy was being watched. Instead of fading, more problems surfaced in the years that followed: bullying, cover-ups, and students pressuring others into silence. Each time, the institution promised change, but the headlines told a different story. Now compare this with how Oprah treated Michael Jackson. For her own academy, she expressed compassion and urged people not to judge too harshly, but with Michael, one allegation was enough to flip her tone. She gave a platform to accusers when he couldn't defend himself, framing him as dangerous while her own institution carried scandal after scandal. This is the hypocrisy that critics point to. When the brand is Oprah's, the story softens. When the target is Michael, the story sharpens. It's not about justice, it's about control of the narrative. The bigger pattern is clear. Institutions in Hollywood aren't built only to protect children or artists, they're built to protect power. And when that power feels threatened, the same shield comes up: redirect blame, soften the blow for insiders, and focus the heat elsewhere. there. But this double standard wasn't just in schools or talk shows. It stretched deep into the private lives of other stars, where rumors of hidden parties and secret recordings revealed even more about how the system really worked. Behind the red carpets and flashing lights, there's another side of Hollywood that rarely makes the headlines. Recent lawsuits and whistleblowers have pulled back the curtain, and one name keeps surfacing: Diddy. Former employees have described what they called Wild King Nights, private gatherings that were nothing like the glossy image of a music mogul. According to claims, staff were ordered to prepare hotel rooms with oils, candles, liquor, piles of toiletries, and drugs. Their job didn't end there. Some say they were told to carry Diddy packs, bags stocked with everything needed to keep the parties running, night after night. The most disturbing part wasn't just the setup. Former insiders alleged they had to clean up too. Phones were wiped, videos deleted, evidence destroyed. These weren't casual parties. They were tightly managed events, controlled to the last detail, and the staff were stuck in the middle, forced to handle what they saw while keeping silent. For Michael Jackson, this kind of culture wasn't a rumor. He lived in the same world, saw the same patterns, and knew how these circles operated. That's why Neverland was so important to him. While others threw secret parties in hotels, he built his own fortress, one he could monitor, one he believed he controlled. And it's also why he was so feared, because if Michael kept notes, recordings, or proof of what really happened at these private gatherings, he held a weapon more powerful than any hit record. Think about it. Hollywood thrives on secrets. Careers rise and fall depending on what stays hidden. If Michael had evidence of what powerful names were doing behind closed doors, he wasn't just a superstar. He was a threat to the entire system. That's why the fear around him wasn't just about music. It was about what he might reveal. And if he really did document decades of whispered confessions and hidden sins, the question becomes, where is that evidence now? The answer to that could change everything, and it leads straight into the final mystery of Michael Jackson's legacy. So here's the question that lingers long after the headlines. What if Michael Jackson's evidence still exists? For years, rumors have circled that he kept tapes, journals, even files on the people around him. Some say he recorded conversations. Others believe he had a habit of saving receipts, literal proof of what powerful figures did when they thought no one was watching. If that archive is real, it would explain the fear. It would explain why Hollywood worked so hard to paint him as unstable, because one leak could topple careers, studios, and even whole empires. And that leads us to the second question: who's next? If Michael collected secrets, he couldn't have been the only one. Today, comedians like Dave Chappelle and Jim Carrey are speaking more boldly than ever. They hint at the same machine Michael warned about, a system built on silence, betrayal, and narrative control. Even actors and insiders who once played along are beginning to question it. The cracks are showing. The real danger for Hollywood isn't that one star spoke up, it's that more could follow. If one person dares to release proof, others may feel brave enough to do the same. That chain reaction could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the entertainment industry. For now, the evidence, if it exists, remains hidden. Maybe it's locked away in private vaults, maybe it was destroyed, or maybe it's waiting, ready to surface when the time is right. What's certain is this: Michael Jackson saw the game for what it was. He refused the silence, and he paid the price. And that leaves us with one final thought: the truth doesn't stay buried forever. It only waits. The only question now is, who will be the one to finally open that vault? Because when they do, Hollywood won't just tremble, it will fall silent.